This is NMH at 1 and you're joined by me, Diana Master, your lunchtime companion for today's news breakdown during the lunch hour, where we will be sharing the news making headlines across Namibia, Africa and the globe. Thank you for joining us for this lineup of economic news, local stories, international headlines and sports updates. Let's take a look at headlining today's show. Hyphen Energy shares National Southern Corridor Development Initiative's plans to put Namibia at the forefront of hydrogen production. University of Namibia donates oxygen production plant worth 3.5 million Namibian dollars to the Katima Mulilo State Hospital. Volleyball action North takes up center stage. This and more coming up in this midweek edition of NMH at 1. In today's midday news update, Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters Deputy Leader Kalimbo Ipumbu today handed over a petition to the shop owners of Windhoek's Chinatown complex. Among the demands stated in the petition is that all employees should be given employment contracts. Among the demands were labor contracts for all employees of Chinatown and auditing of the Chinatown establishment's books. The NEFF also requested that a stop be put to Chinese business people sleeping at the industrial Chinatown shopping complex and that beds be removed with immediate effect as it is not a residential area. They also highlighted sexual harassment concerns, which they said should come to an immediate stop. Ipumbu further accused the Chinese business people of kidnapping employees and locking them up in their shops during demonstrations like that which took place today. One of the Chinatown property owners, businesswoman Stina Wu, received a petition from the NEFF leaders but refused to publicly comment on the state of affairs. We'll now take a quick ad break and return with visual news. And now getting into today's visual news clips. Hyphen Energy plans to put Namibia at the forefront of hydrogen production. In light of this, Hyphen's chief executive Marco Raffinetti and Enertug's senior project developer Jonathan Metcalf held the first of a series of briefings about the National Southern Corridor Development Initiative's plans. The two men and their teams are in Lüderitz today to meet with the town council and stakeholders. Algeto Craig was at the session in Windhoek. Let's take a look.
Coast. For Namibia, if you look at its competitive advantage on a global scale across all different industries that it could potentially play in, nothing is as strong in terms of the ability to change the economy as the green hydrogen industry is. So what we have on the graphic here is to say, as I mentioned, if we take all of these high yield areas where you've got the good layer over wind and solar, and you were to develop it, you could get to approximately 150 gigawatts of electrolyzer in country, which would equate to 250 gigawatts of installed generation capacity. To give you an idea of how that compares to our project, I may mention that our project is around about $10 billion and it's installing 3 gigawatts of electrolyzer. So you can see what we're talking about here is many, many times the scale of our project. Where we would get to in terms of if the economy could develop all these areas, you would reach this plateau point where you've installed the 250 and 150. But it's important to know that these assets, it's not an extractive industry like mining where you run out of the material that you're essentially harvesting. Once these assets are built and in production, they will need constant maintenance and updating as they reach the end of life. So wind turbines, 20 years, 25 years, solar panels, 20 years, electrolyzers every 10 years, you need to replace the stack. What we see is that you could have an industry developed that works in perpetuity. There is no timeline on when a green hydrogen project stops. You can keep building this and renewing that capacity through time, which would essentially create up to 200,000 jobs in perpetuity.
Now, the University of Namibia, through their collaboration with Cardiff University, recently donated an oxygen production plant worth 3.5 million Namibian dollars to the Katima Mulilo State Hospital. Let's take a look at this next video.
Sticking with health-related news, the University of Namibia, through their collaboration with the Cardiff University, has donated an oxygen production plant worth 3.5 million to the Katima Mulilo State Hospital. Cardiff University has donated 20 million to the Phoenix project, and an amount of 8.5 million was set aside to install oxygen production plants at Katima, Grootfontein, Gobabis and Nkuru. Apart from the oxygen production plants, the Welsh Government also donated health and personal protective equipment. Health and Social Services Minister Kalumbi Shangulo said that government continues to ensure that the National COVID Preparedness and Response Unit is sharpened to meet and overcome challenges. He said that the oxygen production plant will go a long way towards improving clinical management of patients suffering from COVID-19 and other respiratory illnesses. According to UNAM Vice-Chancellor Kenneth Matengu, the oxygen production plant in these locations strengthens Namibia's healthcare system across an otherwise geographically large country and improves the provision of quality and adequate care to patients in both urban and rural areas. He added that part of the funding was also used to train 270 nurses in oxygen therapy and ventilation case management.
Now, Wilho Haipa, aka Funny Jones, hosted his first comedy night together with his partner Paulos Feliciano, aka Dr. Paul, titled Husband Material at Pepperoni Restaurant in Ongwediva recently. It was during the planning of their show that the two decided to launch their comedy club called Jokes on You. You can read more about their plans in the upcoming edition of Ewi Ianuli. Tinoole Mungoba has more.
My name is Wilho Haipa. I'm the co-founder of Jokes on You Comedy Club. Our other founding member is Dr. Paul. His name is Paulos. So we've partnered up with Pepperonis to have a comedy event once a month for Ongwediva. The venue is Pepperonis. It's once a month. So right now we're planning one for June. We had our first event under the theme Husband Material, which I was the main act. So it was a great success. People turned out and we're very thankful. So we're looking forward to the next one in June that we're busy preparing. Yes, sir.
And also, I'd like to... Gentlemen, can we give it up for Chipinge? Let's go. What a man.
There was volleyball action in the north over the weekend. Let's take a look at how it all unfolded.
The first ever Nedbank Volley First tournament took place at the Volombola Vocational Training Centre in Ongwediva over the weekend. The one-day event saw over 20 volleyball teams battle it out to be crowned the tournament champions. The Namibian Correctional Services Volleyball Club scooped top honours, winning $7,500, a trophy and medals. Team Uzotec took the second spot to claim the prize money of $5,000, while Team Medipark took third spot to win $3,200 in prize money. Namibia Volleyball Federation spokesperson Hilary Mbua said the idea came about in 2019 to have an impactful event in 2020. However, games had to be put on hold due to COVID. The tournament was an initiative between Connect People to People, the Namibia Volleyball Federation, and was sponsored by Nedbank Namibia and Windhoek Draft.
And now we take a trip to the marketplace, and after that we share the news headlining Namibia's daily newspapers. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. Starting off with the Namibian Sun front page, it leads with information that up to 1.2 billion Namibian dollars was deposited with the bank in which government held a stake. Depositors of the liquidated SME bank will have to contend with receiving 5 cents on the dollar as liquidators Bruni and McLaren have failed to raise enough money to pay its thousands of depositors. This follows a meeting held yesterday with disgruntled depositors who wanted to know when the liquidators would make the next series of payments. The bank had at some point held as much as 1.2 billion Namibian dollars in depositor funds. Addressing the depositors, David Bruni of Bruni and McLaren said there was no bigger money to pay out in bigger ratios. On its page 3, the English Daily reports the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters has been accused of meddling in labor issues in a ploy to curry favor ahead of the 2024 elections. The Metal and Allied Namibian Workers Union has accused the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters of intentionally creating labor unrest at various construction projects it had bargaining status at. This is a ploy on the part of the party to gain favor in the run-up to the 2024 elections, Union President Angula said. NEFF had also claimed unfair victories over labor matters the union had already resolved, Angula said. Moving over to the Republican, the Afrikaans Daily reports that farmers in the Ocho area praised Nampol's Major General Joseph Shikongo, who made a massive breakthrough over the weekend by arresting renowned game and cattle thieves in that area. During an operation in which more than 50 police officers as well as police helicopter were deployed, various slaughter places were discovered on farms in the vicinity of Beerman School and further south. During the operation, the Excelsior Farmers Union Crime Prevention Forum deployed their K9 dog unit and caught some of the alleged thieves, as well as to point out the weapons. The police discovered slaughtered game and at least 51 cattle from the Ochikondo area. The value is only the cattle is estimated at 600,000 Namibian dollars. On page 2 of this newspaper, it is reported that senior project developer Jonathan Metcalf from Enetrug on Monday discussed the partnership's plans to manufacture tons of green hydrogen on Namibia's southern coast at a stakeholder information session in Windhoek. Together with financier Nicholas Holdings, Enetrug formed Hyphen Energy Namibia and won the preferred bidder status from government last year to spearhead the development of a green hydrogen industry in Namibia. Now, moving over to Allgemeine Zeitung. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports on the Swakopmund by-elections that are approaching after Independent Patriots for Change councillor for the Swakopmund constituency, Siska Smith-Howard, had to step down. Obviously, it's not nice to be unfairly fired, but I'm not surprised by the decision, she said yesterday. According to a letter by the party's National Secretary General, Christine Kauhamas, Smith-Howard no longer has any legitimate basis to serve as an IPC regional councillor in any capacity, effective immediately. Kauhamas also asked the regional politician to give up all party property, including her membership card. Smith-Howard was informed earlier this month that she had until 13 May to step down from her position as councillor, or the party would fire her. On its page 3, Allgemeine Zeitung reports that the media ombudsman John Nakuta yesterday, for the first time ever, convened a public hearing on an issue at hand. The Ovambanderu Traditional Council had raised a complaint against the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation concerning its omission to make use of the formal title Umbara Ochitambi of its traditional leader Aleta Nguvauva in public broadcasts. The hearing was attended by representatives of the Ovambanderu tribe, but the NDC remained absent. We're now going to take a quick ad break and return with more newspaper stories.
I couldn't help but wonder if love would come my way. Sitting waiting for my life to start. Oh yeah. I couldn't help but wonder if I'd see a brighter day, that I would find some peace of mind, and love would fill my heart. Thanks to you, I got a reason every day to keep believing I can do.
Continuing with our newspaper review, the Namibian reports that the Namibia Defence Force is planning to recruit 1,400 cadets. In a letter seen by the Namibian NDF Chief Martin Penehas instructed the heads of the military school to prepare for the planned training of new recruits. The training is planned to take place at the Okahanja Military School in the second quarter of the year. From the 1,400 cadets, 150 would also be drawn for a regular commissioning course in addition to the training. On its page 3, the paper reports that the Ovambanderu Traditional Council has reported the national broadcaster NBC to the media ombudsman, saying that Omurari FM, an NBC Oshierero station, prohibits the Ovambanderu community from referring to their leader Aleta Nguvauva as the Ombara Ochitambi live on air, a title which translates to Paramount Chief. This stems from the fact that government does not recognize Nguvauva as a designated chief. Moving over, the New Era leads with the sentencing of 58-year-old Petras Hochobeb to 33 years in prison after he murdered his girlfriend Josephine Africana at a shebeen in Gobabis on 14 July 2019 by stabbing her 9 times. This was after he was released on parole after serving 13 years of his 17-year sentence. According to the summary of substantial facts on the previous murder, he stabbed his victim multiple times while she was relieving herself in the bushes. On its page 3, the paper reports that a police constable from the dog unit appeared in the Windhoek Magistrates Court for allegedly stealing fuel since December last year. The 33-year-old Domingo Kambinda Ndara unlawfully and intentionally stole fuel at 5 different police stations and Nampol's main depot using a Toyota Baki. According to Market Watch, reports that locusts have destroyed over 719,000 hectares of grazing land and 1,207 hectares of crop fields in 10 of Namibia's 14 regions, with the Garas region being the worst affected. Santam donated 100,000 Namibian dollars to Drought Relief Namibia. This donation will be put towards the purchase of fuel for vehicles that are used by the sprayers and contribute towards the salaries of those doing the spraying. Now, the Bank of Namibia last Friday said the country will borrow another 900 million Namibian dollars for use at the end of the year. We share more on this and other economic news stories right after the break. In today's economic news, the Bank of Namibia last Friday said the country will borrow another 900 million Namibian dollars for use at the end of the year. This will bring the country's total borrowing requirement up to 19.4 billion Namibian dollars and comes at a time when the country was just recently slapped with a credit downgrade from Moody's Investor Service. According to the central bank, the 900 million Namibian dollars to be borrowed at the end of the year will be to cater for the extra budgetary cash requirement at the end of the fiscal year. This amount will be borrowed mainly by the issuance of treasury bills, said the central bank. Commercial banks are mainly the ones that take up much of the treasury bills, and with private sector credit extension still limping, it is expected that further funds will flow to treasury from the commercial banks. At the end of March this year, credit extended to the private sector grew only by 2.1% year on year compared to 2.8% in February, and it's still moving below its 6-month moving average of 2.3%, according to an analysis by Simonis Storm Securities. The central bank borrows on behalf of the government. At the release of the country's borrowing strategy early last month, it was indicated that the 2022-2023 borrowing requirement of 18.5 billion Namibian dollars will push national debt to 140 billion Namibian dollars. The interest on these loans would be a whopping 92 billion Namibian dollars, the second most expensive allocation for the fiscal year. In South Africa, innovators believe that window blinds need not be just to keep the sun away, but converting such sun to solar energy, and it's the new talk in South Africa's startup environment. The founder of a local engineering startup, Lisa von Benneke of LC Dynamics, hopes to soon offer South Africans a new approach to coping with unending electricity problems, which is solar panels built into window blinds. LC Dynamics, established last year, manufactures mobile Venetian window blinds with solar PV cells built into their slats. Their mechanisms have motors to tilt the slats to track the sun. They have lithium-ion battery packs, a built-in light-emitting diode light, and multiple direct current outputs for charging devices. These can be used to power other solar window blinds and can also be connected to a grid tier or off-grid battery or inverter system. The blinds can power cell phones, laptops, LED lighting for about 4 hours, security systems, and other appliances if they are plugged in directly from the devices. By December, the startup plans to have on sale the mobile solar panel blinds at an affordable price point, possibly starting at 5,000 Namibian dollars. And now let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar continues to trade at 15 Namibian dollars and 92 cents per $1 and increased in value against two major currencies. First Rand Namibia Ltd stock prices are up by 3.40% on the NSX, while MTC and Namibia breweries have also increased. SBN Holdings and Trustco Group are down in price, while local and overall index have increased on the NSX. Brent crude oil is down in value, now trading for $111 and 92 cents per barrel. Now, a Burkina Faso zinc mine was flooded on April 16 after torrential rain, and after that, 8 miners remain unaccounted for. An update on the month-long rescue mission coming up on NMH at 1. Stick around for the full story right after the break. You're still watching NMH at 1. We now take a look at latest news in our neighboring countries, will later on extend to the rest of the globe. Starting off in Burkina Faso, rescue workers have found no survivors in a rescue chamber deep inside a flooded zinc mine in Burkina Faso, the government and the mine owner said yesterday, all but extinguishing hope that 8 missing miners could still be alive after a month. There had been faint hope during a month-long search and rescue operation that the missing men might have reached the rescue chamber, which is stocked with food and water located around 570 meters below ground. The rescue teams have opened the refuge chamber. Unfortunately, it is empty. The government's information service said in a statement. Trevally said the refuge chamber had been found intact, and it was now clear that none of the 8 missing workers had reached it. This is devastating news, and we would like to offer our deepest sympathies to our colleagues, families, and friends during this difficult time, said Rikas Grimbeek, president and CEO of Trevally. He said that search efforts will continue unabated. Distraught relatives of the missing men have been gathering every day at the site in the Sanguia province, seeking solace from each other as they faced the agonizing wait for the news. Moving over, Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoco Embalo has dissolved the parliament and the government and called for legislative polls in an announcement he made on Monday. Under the constitution, the polls will take place within 90 days. According to 2 presidential decrees, Prime Minister Nuno Gomes Nabiam and his deputy Suarez Sambu will continue in their positions and will ensure the functioning of the executive until the elections are concluded. Last week, President Embalo expressed his willingness to dissolve parliament after a meeting with its speaker and representatives of the political parties with parliamentary seats. After the dissolution, its permanent commission assumes parliamentary responsibilities until elections are held. In South Africa, a former South Africa judge faces 735 charges of rape and human trafficking. Late senior advocate and former acting judge Paul Kennedy's co-accused, a 53-year-old alleged child sex offender, appeared in the High Court in Johannesburg on Monday, where attempted murder charges were added after one of his alleged victims tested positive for HIV. Faced with more than 735 charges of raping an unspecified number of young boys, human trafficking, unlawful possession, creation and importing and/or exporting and distribution of child pornography, the co-accused allegedly committed these crimes while out on bail for another case on similar charges, which led to his arrest in July last year. Activist against child abuse Mochidisi Mabatle said the law continued to fail many victims of abuse, especially by releasing an alleged repeat sex offender on bail when there was proof of significant risk in doing so. Women and Men Against Child Abuse Advocacy manager Nga Morombedzi said the matter regarding Kennedy's co-accused has been frustrating and negatively reflected upon South Africa's justice system. The final indictment painted a picture of a well-organized child sex ring that targeted minors, grooming them and then selling them to be raped. It also revealed that the victims were allegedly targeted through social media, then trafficked to Gauteng, where they were sexually groomed before being sold to clients. Now, Finland and Sweden have applied to join NATO, while pollution has, according to a study, killed 2.3 million Indians in 2019. We expand on these stories after the break as we move over to international news.
Choose your Flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Starting off our international news segment, Finland and Sweden formally applied to join the NATO alliance on Wednesday at Allied headquarters, a decision spurred by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but face objections from Turkey to an accession process that is expected to take only a few weeks. Neutral throughout the Cold War, Sweden's and Finland's decision to join NATO is one of the most significant changes in Europe's security architecture for decades, reflecting a sweeping shift in public opinion in the Nordic region since Russia's February 24 invasion. This is a historic moment which we must seize, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said at a short ceremony in which the Swedish and Finnish ambassadors to the alliance handed over their application letters, each in a white folder embossed with their national flag. With the applications formally submitted, the Nordic countries and their many backers now face uncertain months where any resistance to their bids needs to be overcome, with all 30 of NATO's members needing to approve the enlargement. Ratification by all allied parliaments could take up to a year, diplomats say. Turkey has surprised its allies in recent days by saying it had reservations about Finnish and Swedish membership, saying the two countries harbor individuals linked to groups it deems terrorists and hitting out at arms export embargoes imposed on it after its Syria incursion in 2019. In India, pollution led to more than 2.3 million premature deaths in 2019, according to a new Lancet study. Nearly 1.6 million deaths were due to air pollution alone, and more than 500,000 were caused by water pollution. The latest Lancet Commission on Pollution and Health report blamed pollution for 9 million, or about 1 in 6 deaths globally. It said India, where bad air kills more than 1 million people every year, remained among the worst affected. Globally, air pollution, both ambient and household, was responsible for 6.7 million deaths in 2019. Water pollution was responsible for 1.4 million deaths, and lead pollution caused 900,000 premature deaths. The study found that more than 90% of pollution-related deaths occurred in low-income and middle-income countries, with India topping the list with 2.36 million and China at number 2 with 2.1 million deaths. The report says that in 2000, losses due to traditional pollution were 3.2% of India's GDP. Now in sports, Namibia's Eagles played their historic first T20 international fixture against Zimbabwe yesterday. An update on this coming your way right after the break.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Taking a look at our local sports stories, the Richelieu Namibia Eagles fell short by 7 runs in their historic first T20 international fixture against Zimbabwe's national team in Bulawayo yesterday. Home captain Craig Irvine played a match-winning knock of 55 not out of 39 balls to lead the Zimbabwe Chevrons to a total of 153 over 4 before Namibia were restricted to 146 over 5. 19-year-old opener Devon Lecoq top scored for Namibia with a well-played 66 runs off 43 balls. The second match in the 5-match series is slated for tomorrow. Namibian international Peter Shalulile faces a difficult task to break Mbasuma's 17-year scoring record. With 22 league goals under his belt, Mamelodi Sundowns' Peter Shalulile is all but certain to win the Leslie Manyatela Golden Boot Award this season. However, the Namibian faces an almost impossible task to beat the all-time record goals record in a season of 25 set by Collins Mbasuma of Kaizer Chiefs in the 2004-2005 season. To equal Mbasuma's record, Shalulile will have to score a hat-trick in Sundowns' last league game of the season against Royal AM at the Chatsworth Stadium in Durban this weekend. Moving over, last Saturday, the Fistball Indoor Tournament took place in the hall of the Swakopmund Football Club. CFC1 again secured the indoor championship ahead of the hosts SFC1. In a round-robin format, the 5 participating teams initially played against each other. Reigning champions CFC1 won every match and qualified first for the final. The blue and whites were followed by the first team of the SFC, who were victorious against their clubmates SFC2 and SFC3, but drew against SKW1. Due to the worse ball difference, SKW1 slipped to 3rd place and had to be satisfied with the small final. Now, Royal AM is yet to complete another signing. More on this and other stories from the international sports scene right after the break. And now diving into our international sports scene, we start off DStv Premiership side Royal AM are set to complete yet another signing with the addition of an in-demand striker to strengthen their attacking department. Royal AM look set to bolster their squad by swooping for Swallows FC striker Rosé Gamaldien ahead of next season. With the possibility of qualifying for the CAF Champions League next season, Royal AM have ventured into the transfer market in a bid to compete on several fronts next season. John Maduka's side currently sits 3rd in the DStv Premiership standings, 3 points off CT City in second with a game in hand. Now, Kickoff confirmed that Mamelodi Sundowns goalkeeper Kennedy Mwene will be staying on at the club to complete a decade's service after putting pen to paper on a new deal. Mwene, who turns 38 this year, has been a reliable pair of hands whenever brought to duty, with 7 clean sheets in the 11 games that he has played this season as deputy to fellow veteran Dennis Onyango. The Zambian legend joined Sundowns in July 2013 from Free State Stars, where he was outstanding throughout the 8 years that he spent there. Former Kaizer Chiefs Academy star Zita Quinica will return to Naturena next season after enjoying 2 impressive seasons with Stellenbosch FC. Quinica was the big winner at Stellenbosch's end-of-season awards ceremony on Tuesday evening, where he walked away with the club's Player of the Season and Footballer of the Season awards. We're now going to take a quick ad break, and when we return, we give you your highlights.
Adam Tas is coming to Windhoek to help build a brighter future for education. Join us at the Sounds of Caring concert at Windhoek High School Vechkop on 20 and 21 May, where he will be performing with Von Arends and Rian Smith. Tickets cost 200 Namibian dollars and are available via eticket.my.na. All proceeds go towards the African Child Development Trust.
You're watching NMH at 1, and if you have just joined us, here are your news highlights. Rescue workers have found no survivors in a rescue chamber deep inside a flooded zinc mine in Burkina Faso, the government and the mine owner said yesterday. Finland and Sweden formally applied to join the NATO alliance on Wednesday at Allied headquarters, a decision spurred by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but face objections from Turkey to an accession process that is expected to take only a few weeks. The Richelieu Namibia Eagles fell short by 7 runs in their historic first T20 international fixture against Zimbabwe's national team in Bulawayo yesterday. The second match in the 5-match series is slated for tomorrow. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Diana Master. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. But for now, stay with us for a compilation of news from across Namibia in our regional review segment.
Good day, viewers, and welcome back to Regional Review. My name is Monique Adams, and I'm your South correspondent for Namibia Media Holdings. Today, we're celebrating World Museum Day. It's a celebration of man-made creations, from mummies in Egypt to interesting sculptures in Greece. So, wherever you find yourself and there's a museum close by, make sure that you take a trip back in time. So let's get started in today's show. First up in today's news, China Henan International Corporation employees signed a petition.
The dispute signed was for unfair dismissal, unfair discrimination, disclosure of information, severance packages, and unfair labor practices.
Insurance company claims employee stole 18 million Namibian dollars. Insurance company claims employee stole 18 million Namibian dollars. Werner Gwaggemoop allegedly stole 18 million Namibian dollars from Holland, Namibia from July 2019 to March this year, 2022. According to the managing director, Richard Aston, the theft was discovered on the 6th of April 2022. Currently, Werner Gwaggemoop is out on bail and is awaiting for trial. Now we get to speak to Susanna Kadikwa, who is the school principal of the Alzenkeer Primary School. She talks about the Alzenkeer project in collaboration with Germany. Now I get to speak to Susanna Kadikwa, who is the school principal of the Alzenkeer Primary School. She talks about the Alzenkeer project in collaboration with Germany.
I am Mrs. Susanna Kadikwa, principal of the Alzenkeer Primary School. We are running a project since 2019 and it is the Alzenkeer Volunteer Project. This social educational commitment was initiated and carried out by the German Foundation, Kindervorden Zukunftsstiftung, and the Directorate of Education, Arts and Culture in the Xaras Regional Council. In September 2019, Michael Reinhardt, the project manager, visited the 6 schools alongside the Orange River. In 2019, October, a delegation of Namibia attended the 3rd Paternoster Conference in South Africa, Paternoster. In February 2020, the founder of the foundation and board members visited Alzenkeer. After consultations, negotiations and planning, it was decided that they will start the project at the Alzenkeer Primary School, and we received our first team of volunteers in October 2020. The target group of this project are the grade 1 to 3 learners, and the main tasks is teaching life skills education through afternoon workshops and student assistance in the classes as well as the local clinic. The effects of the volunteer work on the children, teachers and volunteers. To start with, the learners. There is a definite improvement in learners' performance since the inception of this project. It also gives a radical healthy boost to self-confidence and self-esteem of the learners. Learners with special needs have been empowered through individual sessions or sessions in smaller groups. The project manager informed me that we still have to sign a memorandum of understanding, and they want it for 10 years. So we are now already in the 3rd year.
And for you as the principal, how does that make you feel?
It definitely gives me strength sometimes when I'm so tired, because the administration of this project is something on its own, but it gives me strength because there are a lot of possible future developments, which include the building of a media center, a library in the near future. And it's definitely something great.
And anything further you would like to add or say?
Yeah, there is definitely still room for growth, expansion, recommendations for future inquiry, as well as the strengthening of conversations. And towards the end of the year, we will have a qualitative as well as a quantitative measurement to carry out, so that we can really see what's the impact of the project.
And for you as the principal, how does that make you feel?
It definitely gives me strength sometimes when I'm so tired, because the administration of this project is something on its own, but it gives me strength because there are a lot of possible future developments, which include the building of a media center, a library in the near future. And it's definitely something great.
And anything further you would like to add or say?
Yeah, there is definitely still room for growth, expansion, recommendations for future inquiry, as well as the strengthening of conversations. And towards the end of the year, we will have a qualitative as well as a quantitative measurement to carry out, so that we can really see what's the impact of the project.
Well, that has brought us to the end of today's news segment. Now we head over to today's interview, where we got to sit down with Hyphen Barnard, who is a coffee shop owner in Quays.
Hyphen Barnard is a coffee shop owner in Quays and used to receive many tourists to his establishment. Now, since the Rietfontein and Mata Mata border post have been closed for almost 3 years now, this has made his establishment suffer with not receiving so many tourists. He calls upon the Ministry of Home Affairs for assistance or reasons why the Mata Mata and Rietfontein border post have not been opened yet.
Okay, ek wil graag by die ministerie wil weet van immigrasie en die minister van natuurbewaring, wat is die probleem? Laat ons nie die hek by Mata Mata en by Rietfontein aan die kant Arwap kan opkry nie. Wat is die probleem wat dan dat veroorsaak? Want op die huidige oomblik kan die toeriste van Suid-Afrika nie deur die Kalahari Park, oorgrenspark na ons toe deurkom nie, en beïnvloed dit al die gastehuise en lodges wat op die roete lê na die Kalahari Park en na Rietfontein. En dit stream ons ook met die toeriste om dit verder te bevorder, want op die huidige oomblik kan ons dit nie bevorder nie as gevolg van dat die hek gesluit is, en sal ons graag van Han en die ministerie wil weet wat die probleem is en hoe kan ons die probleem gesamentlik kan aanspreek.
En hoe lang is die...
Die hek is al meer is al amper 3 jaar wat hy toe is. So ek weet nou nie, hulle moet met 'n rede kom hoekom ons nou nie die hek kan oopmaak nie, of kan ons dalk nie 'n samewerkingsooreenkoms kry dat ons dit kan oopmaak nie.
Well, that has unfortunately brought us to the end of today's show, but please do make sure that you catch me again next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. For now, it's a goodbye.
Rehoboth is sunny, beautiful and mild this week, with a low of -2 degrees expected during the night on Friday. Partly cloudy conditions are expected at Marintal this week, with a little rain forecast for Saturday. Patchy clouds are forecast for Keetmanshoop for the most of the week, along with mild temperatures. Wind and cooler temperatures can be expected at Karasburg, with a chilly high of 15 expected on Friday. Ludwitz is mostly sunny and cooler, with warmer weather expected over the weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition